Welcome back to the Anything Goes with Jackson Neill podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, my interview with the duo MISSIO. Matt and Dave of that, they joined the show to talk to me about some of their latest music and everything. But before we jump into that, I want to tell you guys a little bit about the podcast. You can listen to it on any platform you like: SoundCloud, Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify. Any platform you can find Anything Goes with Jackson Neill. But JacksonNeillPodcast.com is the official home for every single podcast that I publish. So head over there when you get a chance. So let's jump into this interview I did with MISSIO. I talked with them about their latest project, The Darker the Weather, The Better the Man. Just the meaning behind that project. What was the process like behind recording it? Because they tell me a little bit about that and just how different it was from any kind of normal album or other album they've recorded. So we talk a little bit about that. Also, how important it was to them since this was their second album, the collaborations they had on there, just all of that great stuff. So here's my conversation with Matt and Dave of MISSIO. You're in Fort Wayne, Indiana right now. You're currently on tour. How's that going?
Great, man. We're about, I guess, 3 weeks into the Rad Drugs tour, launching off what's going to be a pretty massive global tour that's going to currently running through June, but we'll be extending and just getting this record out and getting this music to the people, and it's been really fun playing new songs and introducing new material to the crowd.
Mm-hmm. So you have this new record out right now, The Darker the Weather, The Better the Man. Can you just tell me a little bit about it, like the process behind it?
Sure. So we wrote the record basically over the course of 3 or 4 different sessions that we planned in between touring the last record, and the bulk of it was actually done in El Paso in a studio out kind of in the middle of it. It's near El Paso, which is already kind of secluded in its own way out on the edge of Texas and Mexico. But this particular studio is on like 40 acres of pecan trees and just really
10,000 acres.
10,000 acres?
Wow.
Oh man, I totally didn't even realize it was that many.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, so it was really just a great place to go and be alone. And we had been journaling the whole time we'd been touring, both in journaling, just thoughts, and that's how we got started.
Awesome. So you guys journaled throughout tour. What kind of like thoughts and stuff do you guys write down?
Pretty much anything, man. I mean, being on tour, you go through a lot of really great ups and a lot of terrible downs, just personally, or I mean, even just things like, you're on a bus with 9 people and your body can hurt after playing show after show after show after show, but it's really fantastic.
Yeah.
Like there's just, as far as like keeping up with lyrics and things like that, like we're a band that really likes to write how we're currently feeling. And so you get a lot of really dark things sometimes, but you get a lot of really cool, inspirational, beautiful things to write about. One of the things that we've kind of noticed on this tour specifically is we've been meeting a lot of really interesting people, just from Uber rides and fans, and they always, I don't know if it's just because of our music or what, but they always feel compelled to tell us a bit of their story, and those I find the most inspiring because, we'll get stories, really dark stories about some things that people are going through, and we just came across a guy the other day that ended up having just like his brain started randomly bleeding, and he was in a coma for a long time and had to relearn how to talk and walk, and you leave conversations like that and you're just like, I have it so good. Like, despite how much we struggle and how we feel and stuff, we have it so good. We have a lot to be thankful for. So when we get to hear stories like that, it really does inspire us to be able to write just different lyrics and things like that. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, with a story like that, it definitely changes almost your perspective on life and everything in that case.
100%.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, that's just one story. I mean, we've heard there was another guy that we met in Salt Lake City right before the tour. And this guy, he was retired or about to retire, and just decided to up and go and take a journey and just travel to all these different countries and like just finally live life for the first time. And so even stories like that, you're just like, wow, people are so interesting. And I think in an age like today where we're just so isolated and alone, you forget to kind of go outside of your comfort zone, your box, and actually talk to people. But there are a lot of stories and lyrics to be written on the people that we get to meet.
Mm-hmm. I think it's so cool you're able to take that inspiration from the different people you meet. And I think it's interesting you mentioned Uber rides too. I think that's something that everyone just kind of, usually goes in the car and doesn't really talk, but sometimes you strike up a conversation, you never know what you might learn about someone.
So true. So true.
So I found one thing kind of interesting when you were mentioning when you guys were talking about the making of this project. You said it took about 3 to 4 sessions. I guess why did this project kind of come together so quickly? What was it about the material in this one that enabled you guys to do that?
Well, we work pretty quickly in terms of the actual execution of stuff, because we're a small team. We're pretty self-contained. So Matthew and I, like, our studio sessions consist of the two of us and our producer Dwight, and then that's pretty much all of the people that are in the room. And so we just kind of our typical process is we'll come in and we'll spend a couple days on a song. Sometimes we'll come in with some sort of musical idea or inspiration or melody, or different demos are further along. But we usually come in and we just get going, and we don't kind of do the normal band recording process that kind of you have written all your songs and you go in the studio and then you finish them. We just do them one at a time, and so every song is given the full thing, and it's start to finish done, and then you go to the next one. And so it's an interesting. Personally, having grown up as an engineer and a producer in the studio and done it the other way so many times, where you go in and cut 12 tracks of drums, 12 tracks, and then you do the bass. It's like I think it's really allowed us to kind of make every song its own complete entity, which I'm really proud of.
Yeah, just to add on to that too, I mean, we come in with quite a bit of demos too, so it's easy for us to kind of pick pretty quickly and go, this song, definitely not. This song, yes, we love this song. Let's work on it. So it really helps as far as like a speed process goes. Most of the time, we're not just coming in and just starting from scratch. A little bit we did on this record, but we do have a lot of previous ideas that it's easy to just kind of build and add on to.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I think something right there you mentioned that I find really kind of cool and interesting is the whole giving each song that, it's time, not just cutting all 12 drum tracks or anything. Because listening to this project, one thing I noticed was that when there was a new song, I was able to really tell, and each song had its own, in some instances kind of a different vibe or a different feeling to it. But I think that came through on that, giving each song its own time, giving each song its own little, it's very different, it's very unique, but it all fits together, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, I think part of that comes with kind of what I was saying earlier as far as like the lyrical content goes. We really like to write how we feel, and the way that comes across is we'll have a song like I See You, which is a really beautiful and hopeful song. And then on another day when we are feeling super aggressive and pissed off, we'll have a song like Temple Priest. And so we're never trying to make a record cohesive per se, in the sense that like we want all the songs to sound very similar. We just kind of make sure that the instrumentation works, but we really want to make sure that this song speaks for itself, which I think is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, and I think it's kind of cool there, those two songs you mentioned, Temple Priest and I See You, just being, there's only one track in between them, and listening to the album, those were kind of two tracks I kind of picked up on when I was thinking about that, with two tracks having kind of different feelings. So I want to touch on the title of this project, The Darker the Weather, The Better the Man. Can you tell me a little bit about why you chose this title for this project?
Yeah, definitely. So the lyric was written, we were on tour last year at about this time, and we were driving through East Washington. And a lot of what we do is we'll just notate different things as we're thinking about them, and we have this big list of lyrics or dark things or whatever. And for whatever reason, I was just overlooking this really beautiful mountains and lake, and it was snowing, whatever. And the lyric, "The darker the weather, the better the man," came to my mind, and so I recorded it real quick, and then just kind of forgot about it for about a year. And when we were in the studio, Dwight, our producer, was kind of looking through this long list of lyrics and things that we were just writing down, and he was like, "The darker the weather, the better the man. I really, really like that lyric. What does it mean?" And I hadn't really taken the time to actually pull from what I was thinking during that moment, but as I began to think about it, for me, what's cool about that line is it has so many different meanings to different people. And for me, I always find that I have a really difficult time feeling like I'm a good artist unless I am struggling with something, or I'm in a depression or anxiety or whatever. And so the darker the weather, the better the man is very literal to me, and that's how I feel as an artist sometimes, that I always have to be fighting the darkness for whatever reason. But at the same time, when you listen to the song lyric, it's "The darker the weather, the better man. You can take all you want, but not who I am." And so it leads it a little bit more hopeful, which is why we kind of kept it towards the end of the record. But it's cool because David has a totally different meaning to it, and we've met other people with totally different meanings as well. So I love when a lyric or a line has to make you think about what it actually means.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love how, for me, the lyric does a couple things for me, in that obviously it's powerful. We made it the title of the record. It is like, it is kind of one of those statements that has balance in it. And I think balance is something that we, in life, struggle with. You know, you've got positive and you've got negative. You've got the darker the weather. You've got these struggles in your life, and then you have the better the man is kind of the visualization of you coming through adversity and being able to look back at your struggles and kind of find purpose and kind of find, see how it created endurance in you, see how it created strength in you, see how it created wisdom in you. And in my life, in my experience, and also talking through with Matthew in his life, like that's something that we both, I guess we both believe, I think deep down, is that all the shit that both of us have gone through and will continue to go through, honestly, has led us to this point, which has made us who we are. And it's really all those struggles that are the foundation of what MISSIO is and how we can even begin to relate to the music listeners out there. It's not necessarily about the music or the sounds. It's really about the emotion of it all. The connectedness of music. Mm-hmm.
I think that's really cool. You guys like talking about that and the different meanings that it has, because in my mind it almost has. I was looking at it and I thought there was a couple different things it could mean, and I think that's kind of the duality of it that really like allows it to be that open ended and that able to connect with any listener how they need it to connect with them.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about music is there's just so many different ways that it speaks to people. It's really cool to be able to hear those stories back when we get to meet fans at shows, and they'll tell us something and I'll go, I've never thought about it like that, but that's fucking rad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's, and I also love hearing you guys like how much the different people and the different fans really almost add to the music in a way. Like you tell me like the stories, how you can listen to them and like hear the different things they say, or right there how they connect with the music. I guess how much inspiration do you guys really draw from other people when you go to make this music? How much does it come from other people instead of just yourselves?
I think we are very aware and enjoy hearing how the music relates to other people. Well, we may have different answers to this because this is a really personal question, but like to me, like, from my experience as a musician, this goes back beyond, this is my whole life, is that it's almost like this, what do you call it? Like, almost like an oxymoron, where it's like, in my experience, the more you kind of focus on expressing yourself in the most authentic way for who you are, and it actually has a way of relating with people more than if you actually try to say, like, oh, I'm gonna write a song. Early days of my career, like, as a musician, you spend a lot of times trying to write a song that people are gonna like, you know? And I think it's a funny thing when you start to realize, it's just like when you start to let go of writing songs that people are gonna like, people start to like your songs more, you know? So it's a weird, I always want to get back to what we feel and what we believe and what we've kind of tested as truth. Those are the things that will ultimately resonate.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think one of the issues with mainstream music is that a lot of the times it's song, and I've been in songwriting sessions like this where you walk in and people go, okay, what do people want to hear? And my belief could be wrong, because there's a lot of songs where they do that are way more popular than will probably ever be. But at the same time, we're not looking for the biggest song on the planet, as great as that would be. We're looking to really connect with our fans and really share a message that helps people. And I don't think that you can write a song about something that I personally haven't struggled with and expect it to relate, because I'm not going to know. So if I've never dealt with depression and I'm writing about depression, I just don't think that that's going to come across very genuine. However, I do struggle with depression, and therefore the honesty and the depth that we can go lyrically in that moment will speak to somebody who fully deals with depression. They'll go, holy shit, this guy gets me. You know what I mean? So I always, as much as we do love our fans, we try to make sure that they're going to like the songs. We never go into a songwriting session going, what are the fans going to enjoy? We always go, how can we resonate and relate with this song ourselves first, in hopes that the fans are going to come secondary to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I think you guys really have your kind of the correct, goals out there. Like you said, it would be great to have the biggest song in the country, but there's other more important things that come with music. So just touching on, you have this record out, The Darker the Weather, The Better the Man, that's out right now. You're on tour. How are you guys feeling? How are you guys doing right now? Just overall going to the rest of this year.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited. We've had some really cool stuff happen in terms of, like, our global listeners. So, like, I think as of the last month, we've added like 17 countries in the next 3 months. So, like, really focusing on trying to be present. And like I said, like, we kind of alluded to it, but since we've been out on tour, like, it's just pretty crazy how we both feel like we've just been called to, like, meet and talk to as many people as possible through this music, and like we've got gigs coming up in Russia and Czech Republic and Poland, and like we've just been talking about what a blessing it is. I mean, that's just to name a few, but like to get to go in front of these people, like let's just take Russia for example. We're gonna get to go sing to those people that we see them, and I just don't take it lightly, and I'm really excited about it, and hopeful that we're going to have some really, really cool experiences in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I'm definitely, I think just being halfway through a tour, something I miss is I don't necessarily feel very inspired right now, just because a lot of fans don't really understand that when you're on tour, it's not, we're here working, we're not just having a good old time and exploring stuff. And I'm kind of missing the ability to be able to go and see things and mountains and stuff like that, because we just don't have time. So that's the one thing I'm missing on this tour. But to David's point, I'm so excited to be able to get to some of those countries that I've never been to before. And hopefully I'll be able to be inspired by being able to see things I've never seen before. And yeah.
Sounds like you guys got a lot going on, so thank you so much.
Of course, man. Thank you, man.
Again, a big thank you to Matt and Dave for coming on to the podcast. Remember, go out and check out The Darker the Weather, The Better the Man. It's a really, really cool project. I really like the title with that. I like their explanation of that title. It's also just awesome music. Also, make sure to check them out on tour if they are going to come to a city near you. I have links to all of that stuff where you can find them, follow them, listen to their music down in the description. So go down there and check all that stuff out so you can stay up to date with the latest that MISSIO is doing. That'll wrap it up for this episode of Anything Goes with Jackson Neill. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, you can check out Anything Goes, as well as all of my other podcasts, my sports and music episodes, on jacksonneillpodcast.com. That's where you can find everything that I publish. Also, if you liked this interview and you want a little bit of bonus content from it, the bonus content for it is already up on Patreon for my subscribers. If you become a subscriber of my podcast, it's just about $3 a month. That's basically a Starbucks coffee. Then you can get access to bonus content from every single one of my interviews, as well as some bonus content from my sports and music podcasts as well. I do this podcast by myself. I host it by myself. I record it, produce it, all of that great stuff by myself. So any little bit of support really, really does make a difference. Also, if you want to follow me on Twitter and Instagram and keep up to date that way, you can check me out at JacksonNeil20. There are links in the description for that as well. I know there's a lot of stuff down there, but you can check me out on those platforms if you like as well. That's everything that I have for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you all next time.